Yuta and Yuji just changed everything we know about Jujutsu Kaisen, and ultimately, they'll end up beating Sukuna in this round. Why? Let me show you how. For a long time now, Yuta and Yuji have both been doubted by a lot of people, and if you're one of the few believers, good on you. But as of chapter 250, both Yuji and Yuta have shown once again why they are not to be trifled with. So first off, let's start with the prodigy Yuta. Yuta Okkotsu, the prodigy of Jujutsu Tech School, a kid said to be second only to Gojo Satoru, and now that the aforementioned Gojo is gone, Yuta is truly living up to that ability. Within chapter 249 and chapter 50, Yuta finally showed off his domain, and we got a glimpse of just how powerful Yuta really is. In fact, Yuta's domain actually reshuffled a lot of people's perception of the pyramid of power within Jujutsu Kaisen because of how overpowered his technique actually is. Now you cut to chapter 250, and you see Yuta and his domain putting Sukuna in a very precarious situation. In fact, I'd even argue that Sukuna right now is in a very similar situation to when Gojo was fighting a 3v1. In that situation, Gojo fought a 3v1, but he was limited in what he could do. If Gojo used anything outside of blue, he ran the risk of having his techniques adapted to by Mahoraga, and thus, Gojo, as he put it, he was getting his cards plucked from his hand one by one. Now, we have Sukuna on the other hand, who is now trapped within Yuta's domain, constantly being pressured and forced to use Hollow Wicker Basket, taking away one of Sukuna's biggest advantages as a sorcerer right now, and that is him having 4 arms and 2 mouths. This, in and of itself, leaves Sukuna with just 2 arms, leveling the playing field for Yuta and the gang here. However, factoring Yuta adding on to the pressure of his domain by consistently rushing at Sukuna and hitting him with a multitude of chaos techniques that Sukuna can't foresee, because even Yuta himself doesn't know what's coming until the katana is picked up. Another thing that puts Sukuna at a disadvantage here is the fact that Sukuna using any chaos technique automatically ends up with Yuta adding +1 chaos technique to his arsenal, which at the end of chapter 250 we saw finally come to fruition, because Yuta does the unthinkable and hits Sukuna with a cleave straight to the face, something Sukuna himself was not ready for, which leaves the question: if Sukuna uses more of his technique, e.g. that mysterious black box and that fire arrow that we've been seeing a lot of during Shibuya, then it means Sukuna is handing Yuta more and more firepower that he himself will eventually have to deal with, which is obviously bad for Sukuna all around. On top of all of this, Sukuna is on par with Yuta right now in terms of cursed energy levels. However, that is still a lot of cursed energy, but Yuta has still yet to fully manifest Rika. We know this because Rika is walking around in this domain, or floating, I suppose, is flying around this domain, meaning if Yuta's cursed energy levels get low, he could just refill and maybe even pop a domain again, potentially. Then we drag in the fact that Yuji Itadori, who right now is slowly but surely dragging Sukuna's soul away from Megami and dragging Sukuna into deep, uncharted waters. Yup, it seems Yuji has an official curse technique reveal. However, I'm very, very skeptical. I've yet to see the words curse technique and Yuji in the same sentence, so I'm remaining skeptical. This could just be the side effect of those freaky little arm things that he's got going on there. Not entirely sure. Still a lot of mystery going around Yuji, but let's just say this is the official curse technique reveal. And Yuji, as it stands right now, means every strike dealt to Sukuna leaves Sukuna more and more unable to control not only the body of Megami, but also his cursed energy output. Meaning, the more blows by Yuji landed on Sukuna means he draws ever closer to being unable to maintain Hollow Wicker Basket. And this then makes him susceptible to be hit with Jacob's Ladder, which will eradicate the cursed object within Megami, e.g. Sukuna. That cursed object being the pinky he tore from one Yuji Itadori way back in chapter 212, which, by the way, feels like actually so long ago right now. Like, it's kind of crazy to think that chapter 212 was like a while ago now. Like, it really feels like a very far, like, distant memory, even though it also feels at the same time like it only happened last week. Time is moving crazy right now. But it also seems Sukuna is aware of Yuji having done this before, mentioning how Yuji's attacks are the same logic behind his effective attacks against the patch face case spirit, e.g. Mahito. Now, back when we saw Yuji hitting black flashes on Mahito, we all assumed it was just that. It was just a black flash dealing more damage. However, the anime did something interesting. At this point right here, we see literally a blow landing, and it has the same effect that happened when Sukuna was hit by Yuji. It's the same in the manga, which makes me wonder if Gege planned this as a little Easter egg as foreshadowing for what's to come. Now, how does all of this lead to Sukuna losing this round? Let's look at it. Every round Sukuna has fought someone, he has lost something. He's come away from that battle with something lost. Number 1. Gojo fought Sukuna and took away his ability to not only use a domain, but also dulled his RCT output and eliminated the Maharaga, taking away 3 major players away from Sukuna's hand here. 2. Kashimo fought Sukuna and pressured him into transforming into the Heian era form, meaning Sukuna now used his one-time transformation in that fight. He could have arguably continued fighting in the form of Megumi's body, but instead he chose to go into the Heian era form, which was a one-time transformation. 3. Higuruma fought against Sukuna and took away the Kamotogi, and while this may not seem like it is a big deal right now, if Sukuna still had the Kamotogi present within Yuta's domain, his ranged attacks and the lightning that thing was tossing about here could be incredibly troublesome for the duo to deal with, which leads us to the fight right now. What can Yuta and Yuji take away from Sukuna? And the answer is Megumi Fushiguro. How? Well, as I've explained throughout this video, Sukuna is in a very pressured and precarious situation. Yuji's soul punches are slowly diminishing and dwindling away at Sukuna, and this just means that Sukuna, just for Yuji alone, will eventually lose control over Megumi and his body, allowing for Megumi to potentially fight back, again, provided he can. Then you factor in Yuta, who right now is pressuring Sukuna incredibly hard with a multitude of chaos techniques and sure hit of his domain being Jacob's ladder. A chaos technique and nullify chaos techniques and apparently strip evil away from things. However, Angel once mentioned that it's extremely likely that the vessel will die as a result of Jacob's ladder because the chaos object inside and the body fuse. Meaning, if Yuji and Yuta's plan works here, it will be likely at the cost of Megumi's life. However, Angel said it's extremely likely. That means that there is a very, very small chance that Megumi actually survives, which means Megumi and Sukuna then would, assumingly, split apart. But where does Sukuna go after they split? My theory is Tengen. Now get ready for some absolute crackpot shit here, because there has been a theory flying around within this community now for a long time, and that theory debates the fact that Sukuna was actually a twin, and we've all looked at Yuji potentially being that long-lost twin. Now, who in the series has actually been directly compared to Tengen in looks before? The answer is Sukuna. Sukuna, at this point right here, Kenjaku had mentioned that they looked alike. As of chapter 248, Sukuna actually ate Tengen. And as we know, Sukuna has knowledge on the soul. He knew how to shift the burden of adaptation from himself to Megumi's soul, and he knows Yuji can sense the barrier between Sukuna's soul and Megumi's soul. And on top of all of this, he knows how to turn himself into a cursed object. So, with all of that information that he knows about the soul, what's to stop Sukuna from merging himself with Tengen and claiming a new, fresh body? To add on to this crackpot theory here, if Sukuna was able to do this and he got away with this, we can assume that he would get a little bit of a refresh on the body here. He would be taking on a completely brand new body of Tengen, who is, as far as we're aware, completely undamaged. Tengen, who is also said to be the best barrier of all time, or at least within this series, should I say. And we know Sukuna wants his domain back. That's something that he's mentioned now within this chapter. So, let's say Sukuna takes over Tengen's body. He's then able to access the memories of Tengen, because we know that's how vessels work. Sukuna had Yuji's memories way back when, and in the latest chapter, Sukuna also was able to access Megumi's memories to find out who the fuck Yuta actually was. It would also follow a theme that Gege has done before of twins becoming one to become even stronger. So, in summary, I think Sukuna will ultimately lose this round of fights, but it won't be the end of him. It'll actually force him out of Megumi's body, and that's how Yuji and Yuta will change everything in Jujutsu Kaisen forever. We will then see the gang fully forming to take on the final weird creature form of Tengen and Sukuna, who have merged together. But that is everything from me. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to let me know what you think of the video in the comments down below. And as always, I'll catch you guys all in the next one. Much love. Big fucking kisses. Peace.